Hi all, in this video I'm going to go over 5 most common mistakes students make in peer reviews. If you've ever had a bad experience with peer review, you'll probably recognize at least a few of them. My goal for you is to be aware of these mistakes and to try to avoid them as much as possible. So let's start. The first mistake, and probably most common one, is being too nice. Now, you might think that there's nothing wrong with being nice to the author of the paper you're reading. And you're right, by itself, being nice is not bad. So comments like, good job, or I really liked your paper, of course they're good comments, they encourage and they help. But it becomes a problem when that's all that you do as a reviewer. A few comments are nice, but how would that help the writer make their paper better? So make sure you don't just point out the positives, but actually offer some critical thoughts on the draft. Don't be afraid to point out what doesn't really sound right to you or places that you would like to see improved. And then the second mistake is the opposite of that, is being too mean. Now, in my experience, that doesn't happen as often as being too nice, but when it does, it can be pretty bad. Now, keep in mind that mean might look different to different people. Of course, when you get your paper back and every other word is underlined or criticized, it's clear that the reviewer was not even trying to be nice or supportive. It can be pretty discouraging to receive feedback that's all focused on the negatives. So things that didn't work well in the paper. So when reviewing a paper, even if it's a very rough draft, try to find something that works well too. And keep in mind that constructive criticism is not the same as being mean, right? So you have to find that happy medium between where you point out things that don't work well, but you also mention things that work well and things that the writer should keep. Now, mistake number 3 is being too general and not concrete enough. So if you can see this picture, it's like going to a doctor with a stomach ache and the doctor says, well, it's probably something with your gestational tract. You probably already knew that, but you want to know the specifics. Is it ulcer or just a bad cabbage roll you ate yesterday? So same with comments like these. They give the writer a general idea of what you thought about their paper, but it doesn't help in revising the draft. So whether it's positive or negative comments, make sure that you explain exactly what you mean. If the introduction did not make sense to you, which part exactly and why? Or if you leave a comment that grammar needs to be fixed, then explain where and what kind of errors did you find and how should they be fixed. So always be specific. But that leads me to mistake number 4, which is getting hung up on details or being too specific. First of all, I see that a lot with reviewers who just focus on grammar, spelling, and other sentence level issues, but forget to look at the bigger picture or how ideas work in the paper, how it's developed and organized. So they don't see the forest for the trees, so to speak. And just keep in mind that if it's a first draft you're reviewing, focusing on grammar might actually be bad, because then we start revising every and each sentence instead of developing ideas and possibly throwing away some sentences and adding new ones. However, if you do notice that there are some persistent errors, like the writer spells specific as specific multiple times, or there's no commas at all in the whole paper, it's good to point out that there are issues that you see so that the writer does not forget to fix them later. Alright, and the last one, common mistake, is criticism without suggestions. Which means providing good criticism for things that don't work well, but forgetting to add specific suggestions for how to make those issues better, how to fix them. So if you think that, for example, the introduction in the paper you're reading was not very engaging, you can say, I think your introduction can be more engaging. But are you sure that the writer will know how to do it? There's always a chance that you have some good ideas or strategies that the writer might not be aware of. So instead, a better comment would be, I think your introduction can be more engaging. It sounds a bit dry. I would add a personal story or an interesting fact at the beginning. And that will probably give the writer a better idea, first, of why the introduction is not engaging, and second, how to make it more engaging. And as a writer, you don't have to accept all of those suggestions, but it's nice to learn how other people would revise the things that need revision. So that's all. That's the 5 most common mistakes in peer review that I wanted to cover in this video. If you have any questions about it, please send me a message, and let's try to make this peer review a helpful experience for everyone. Thanks for watching this.